Okay, so we start. We had seen yesterday what is the definition of a bus, what are the three different types of buses. A bus is a device which allows to connect multiple sub-devices inside the computer system, and it also allows to enable the communication between those devices. Now, those devices can be CPU, memory, IO devices. So all the communication which happens internally inside the system is all done by the buses. We have seen three different types of buses: the data bus, address bus, and the control bus. Now, what is the function of the data bus? It is used to carry the data from memory to IO, IO to processor, processor to memory, memory to IO between all the three devices. Then we have an address bus. The function of the address bus is to carry the memory location or to tell the memory location where the actual data is being located. Then we have third as a control bus. The function of the control bus is to look after the communication that is happening between the address bus and the data bus. That means it controls the data bus and the address bus. Then we had seen the three units of one, different units of von Neumann structure, and how is the communication between those devices. So how do we execute any particular program in the computer system? To execute any program, we have to bring that program in the main memory. If it is there apart from main memory into any other memory, it will never get executed. So to execute anything, we have to bring that program inside the main memory. Once it is brought inside the main memory, your program counter, address register, data register, and instruction register will start its working. And it will keep on working until the execution has been completed and the results are generated. So we had seen how the program counter works. So this is your main memory. These are the address of the main memory. Instruction 1, instruction 2, instruction 3 are nothing but the data. So initially the program counter will point to the first instruction, which is at the location 0000. After execution of instruction, it will point the instruction number 2. And this will keep happening till all the instructions are being executed. Then we had seen how the instructions are fetched. We make use of program counter and memory address register. So what is program counter going to tell? That which instruction is supposed to be executed. So that will be told by program counter. But who will tell me that the instruction is at which particular address? It will be told by memory address register. So how do you write that instruction? PC pointing to MA, which means the PC program counter will tell me the address from the memory address register. Once I have got that address, the system has to generate a read signal. Once the read signal is being generated, with the help of the data bus, I can read the data from the data register. When the data bus and the data register get activated, the signal is generated. If the read signal is not generated, CPU can never read any particular data and it can never execute any particular instruction. So first program counter gets activated. It will take the address from memory address register. Then it will generate a read signal. And after that, the data will be read data register. This was explained in this diagram.
Ma'am, your voice is breaking.
The program counter will point to the memory address register. Then the address bus will get activated, which will tell me the entry into the main memory. After that, the read signal will be activated, and then with the help of a data bus, I will be able to reach to the data register. And once the data register is reached, I can execute the instruction. So when the instructions are executed, there are 4 signals or 4 actions that are being taken, which is the first action, that the CPU will track and store it in the memory. When will this happen? When the execution is being completed. At that time, to store the data, we have to go to memory. So CPU will execute the data memory. Then from the memory, it will go to the CPU. That means if I want to execute things, that data is in the memory right now. Since the execution work is done by the CPU, therefore memory will transfer the data to the CPU. Then after that, we have CPU to IO to CPU, which means CPU may transfer the data to IO for displaying the output, or it may may be used to accept the input. So I have two-way communication from CPU to IO as well as from IO to CPU. Okay, and all these operations are done inside the CPU, but by which part of the CPU? By the ALU part. Then we had seen interconnection structure, where we started with a single bus architecture. In single bus architecture, we had seen that we have one bus inside our computer system. That name of the bus is the system bus. The system bus consists of control bus, address bus, and data bus. Now we have all the three buses, which is being shared by 4 units: input unit, output unit, memory unit, and processor unit. So why is this structure called a single bus structure? Because we have only single control bus, we have only single address bus, and we have only single data bus. Since all the three are only one and they are shared by all the 4, therefore we call this structure as a single bus structure. So we had seen that it operates on a time basis. Now what is that time basis? Every unit is being given with some amount of time to operate. So let us assume that time given is 1 minute. So your input will operate for 1 minute, output will operate for 1 minute, your memory device will operate for 1 minute, and your processor will operate for 1 minute. That means for 1 minute, input will use all the 3 bus. Then after its time is completed, output will use all the 3 bus for 1 minute. Again, when the chance of output is completed, memory will use all the 3 bus for 1 minute, and then followed by processor. So this will keep on happening in a loop unless the execution is not being completed. Once the execution is being completed, it will stop using the system bus. That was what was single bus architecture. So we have also seen that address bus is unidirectional and data bus is bidirectional. We can take the data from one device, put it on data bus, as well as we can take the data from the data bus to any one of the unit. Therefore, data bus act as a bidirectional, whereas your address bus is always unidirectional. Then we had seen what is a function of a control bus. What is that control bus? It allows us to control the different devices that are connected. So right now in input, output, processor, and memory. So who's going to control all of these 4 devices? It will be controlled by the control bus. For controlling, it will use certain signals. Which are those signals? We have 6 signals. This is as an example to 4 apps that define control bus and write down the signals of the control bus. We have memory read, memory write, IO read, IO write, bus grant, and bus request. Now, since if I want to use a bus, I have to first request for that bus. So how do I request? I request a signal called as bus request. Once when the bus is granted to me, what is the acknowledgement given by the system? The bus grant signal is being given as an acknowledgement to the user from the system. Once I have got the bus, I can use either of 4 signals, that is memory read, memory write, IO read, and IO write. If I'm working with IO devices, I will make use of IO read and IO write. But if I work with the memory devices, I will make use of memory read and memory write. But you cannot interchange the signal. Interchange the signal means if I want to work with IO device, I cannot use memory read and memory write. And same if I'm using a memory device, I cannot make use of IO signals, that is IO read and IO write. So all the 6 signals are used whenever I make use of any bus connected to any kind of devices. So we had also seen what are the different operations of the buses. It allows us to transfer the data. It allows us to obtain the control on the bus. How is that control being obtained? By requesting and taking the grant. And after that, we can use the buses. We had seen this. Now today we'll be starting with multiple bus hierarchy. Now what was single structure? Single structure was only one system bus. What is that one system bus? One control bus, one address bus, and one data bus. But what was the problem over here? We were using all the 3 buses in a time sharing manner. What is that time sharing manner? Everyone was given a specific amount of time, and that unit has to work in that specific amount. Once if the time is being completed, the automatic switch will happen from one unit to another unit. Advantages of that system. So what are the disadvantages of your single system? It has a bottleneck issue. It has a propagation detail. And to overcome, we make use of multiple and a wider bus. Now what you mean by bottleneck issue and propagation delay is, what is happening? Input unit is being given to execute for 1 minute. Output unit is also given a chance for execution of 1 minute. Now it might happen that I may not complete my work in that 1 minute. So if my work is not completed in that 1 minute, what is happening? I have to wait until output completes its 1 minute, memory completes its 1 minute, and processor completes its 1 minute. That means I have to wait for all those three devices to complete. After they complete, I again get a chance. So this waiting is called as bottleneck issue and a propagation delay, which will not happen if it is multiple bus hierarchy. This is happening only if it is a single bus. That means this waiting concept is used only if it is a single bus structure. Now to overcome this problem of waiting, what am I using? I am using multiple and a wider buses. Multiple means more than one buses are used, and wider means the capacity is little more as compared to that of the single bus structure. So if you see this diagram, I have more than one bus. How many buses are there? There are two buses. One is system bus and the other is the IO bus. Now IO is also called as a local bus. Now what I have inside the system bus, I will have one control bus, one address bus and one data bus. Okay, to which I have connected only three devices. Which are those three devices? I have connected CPU, I have connected my main memory, and I have connected my IO bus controller. Now what I have connected with IO bus controller is a local bus to which multiple IO devices are getting connected. So if you see this diagram and the single bus diagram, what was happening in the single bus? I was using IO devices, that is input output devices, were connected with the memory and the processor. Now if you see this diagram, your memory and processor is separated and your IO devices are separated. How is your IO devices connected with the memory? It is connected with this IO bus controller. Now I have two buses. One bus, which is the IO bus, which is used only for communication for IO devices. These IO devices cannot communicate with the system bus. If at all they want to communicate, they will make use of this IO bus controller. If my memory and my processor wants to communicate, they will never make use of this local bus directly. They will first communicate with the system bus. System bus will give the data to the IO bus controller, and then they will transfer the data to the IO devices. So if you see the diagram, I can make both the buses work at the same time. If my CPU is communicating at the same time, my IO device can also communicate. Why they can communicate? Because the CPU is connected with a separate bus and IO devices are connected with a separate bus, which was not happening in a single bus structure. Why it was not happening? Because all the devices were connected to a single bus. Here I have separated the work of the IO devices and the work of the CPU and memory. So both the units, that is CPU, memory and IO devices, can work at a same time. Work at the same time means what? I can give an input from IO device 1, which will go to this local bus. Then via the bus controller, it will go to the CPU. At the same time, I can also give an input from this second device, which will again make use of a local bus and send the data to the memory. So if you see, there are two. I am using device 1, which is using this local bus to transmit the data to the CPU. I am using another IO devices which will also use the same local bus and transmit the data to the memory. So with this, I am using my CPU, I am using my memory, as well as I am using two IO devices at a same time. I do not have to wait for any device to complete its time, or I do not have to wait for any IO device to complete its time. I can use both the IO devices at a same time. So with this, I am using Is it clear up till here? Devang? Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, okay. So we move to the next part. So what are the advantages now? We get a high speed of transfer between CPU and memory. Okay, why there is a high speed
Sir,
of transfer? Ah,
मैम प्रेजेंट करो
presentation.
ना.
Presentation.
okay, sorry. Yeah. So what are the advantages? That we make use of a high speed data transfer between CPU and memory. Why there is a high speed of data transfer? Because we are using a separate bus for memory and CPU. Which is that bus? It is the system bus. I am not connecting any IO devices with those devices. So with the CPU and memory. Therefore, I get a high speed of data transfer. What is the second advantage? IO devices are slower than memory, hence local bus is used. So the device to which your the bus to which your IO devices are connected, we call that bus as a local bus. Why it is called as local bus? Because it is used for internal data transfer. Internal data transfer means it is used for either connecting one IO device to another IO device or one IO device to the IO bus controller. So since it is not getting directly connected to CPU and memory, therefore we call it as a local bus. Okay, the devices or the bus which connects to CPU and memory, we call them as a system bus, but the ones which do not connect them directly are called as a local bus. So even if their speed is little less, it does not affect the working of your CPU and the memory. Why? Because CPU and memory are always connected to the high end or a high speed data buses. These controller can interface many IO devices to the system bus. Now they can interface many IO devices means what? To this diagram, I can attach n number of IO devices. If you see IO device 1, IO device n, that means there is no restriction in attaching the number of the devices. Even if I attach thousands of IO devices, it will not affect the speed of these two devices. Why? Because again, I have a separate bus which is connecting CPU and memory, and I have separate bus which is connecting these 1000 IO devices. But if a same scenario, I use it in this structure, if I connect 10 input and 10 output device, it will slower the performance. Why it will slower the performance? Because everybody is sharing a same control, same address and a same data bus. So the number of the devices connected more, the number of the time the CPU is attached will be different. Okay. So the speed will always affect if it is a single structure, but the speed will always increase if it is a multiple structure. Okay. Now if you see in the diagram, the system has 4 units connected by 6 dedicated buses. Now which are those 4 units? U1, U2, U3 and U4. These are the 4 different units. Now this may be IO devices or they may be any other components of the system. But what are we going to learn here is a dedicated bus. Now what is dedicated bus? Means it is fixed. I cannot change. U1 is connected to U2, U1 is connected to U3 and U1 is connected to U4. That means it is connected to all the 3 units and it has a dedicated line. Dedicated line means now I cannot remove this line from U1 to U3 whenever I wish. I cannot do that. Why? Because it is dedicated and it is fixed. When is this scenario used? Whenever there is more amount of data transfer happening inside the system. So if there is more amount of data transfer, I make use of a dedicated buses. Or if your system is a server based system. Server based system means when I am connecting multiple clients to a server and when I'm taking the data from that server, I make use of such a dedicated buses. Okay. What is dedicated means the connection can never be break and it always remains intact. And when do you use this kind of scenario? It is used when it is a server based computer system. So you will not find this structure in your personal computer, neither you will find it in our labs. But if at all I am connected to a server machine, I can find this kind of scenario. So when I have a full dedicated connection, which type of buses are used? The bus used is called as a dedicated bus. Okay. So why there are 6 lines or 6 buses? Because every unit is connected to every another unit. Therefore you have 6 number of lines. Even if you see U2, it is connected to U1, U3 and U4. Same if you see to U3, it is connected to U1, U2 and U4. And similarly, U4 connected with U3, U1 and U2. Okay. So this means what? Any computer can transfer the data to any other computer directly. If I want U1 to transfer the data to U4, what is the path? One path is directly transfers. What is the other path? From U1 to U2, U2 to U4. So the time taken from U1 to U2 to U4 will be more as compared to time taken from U1 to U4. Therefore, these are the dedicated lines. So with the help of the dedicated bus, the data transfer rate is more as compared to your multiple bus structure and your single bus structure. Why? Because here every device or every computer has a full length dedicated connection with every other computer in the network. Is this clear? Any one of you?
Yes, ma'am. Clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, just tell me one thing, Soham, if you can hear me. In computer network, does different types of networks have been started to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Started, no? Okay. Now, if you see, the first is a linear network. Now, what do you mean by linear network? Can you see the board behind?
Ma'am,
Yes.
different types of networks haven't started yet.
नहीं start हुआ है?
नहीं.
अच्छा ठीक है. Can you see the board behind?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ, अगर क्लियरली नहीं दिख रहा है तो आपका स्क्रीन को थोड़ा जूम करो, यू विल बी एबल टू सी दैट. Now, what do you mean by network? Network means if I connect two computer system, this thing which I connect with is called as network. Okay. With the help of this network, I am able to connect these two devices. Now, for example, how I am connected with your computer, or how can you see my desktop on your screen is with the help of this network connectivity. Now you have different type of network connectivity. I think this might have been done in your CN, LAN, MAN and WAN. Is this done, any one of you?
Yes, ma'am. It's done.
Yes, ma'am.
We have LAN as local area network, we have MAN as metropolitan area network, and we have WAN as wide area network. So with this type of connections, your two systems can be connected with each other, and then we can have a data transfer between both of these devices. But to have this scenario, we have to make use of different types of networks. Now, what are those different types of network? First is linear. If you can see, linear means what? One after another. This is what is called as linear. That means this computer 1 is connected with computer 2, 2 is connected to 3, 3 is connected to 4. That means if computer 1 wants to send the data to computer 4, how will it transmit? 1 will send it first to 2, 2 will forward to 3, 3 will forward to 4. I cannot send a direct data to 4. Why? Because I do not have this type of connection. That is what is called as linear. Linear means everyone is connected to one another, but not in a circular manner. So since it is not in a circular manner, so if I want one device to transfer the data to another device, it has to pass via the multiple computers. So the time taken by the linear network is more. Why it is more? Because though I have to transfer the data to 4, it is taking time because it is first sending to 2, 2 is sending to 3, and then 3 is sending it to 4. This is what is called as linear network. And how it is connected? It is connected in a line. Therefore, it is called, since it is connected in a line, therefore it is called as linear. Is this linear clear to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So
Yes,
this is
ma'am.
one type of network where your computers can be connected in a linear fashion. Your second type of computer connection of a network will be called as mesh. Now, what is that mesh? Now, what is that mesh network? We have computers like this. Say suppose computer 1, computer 2, computer 3 and computer 4. Here every computer is connected to every other computer. 1 connected to 2, 1 connected to 3, 1 connected to 4. 2 connected to 1, 2 connected to 3, 2 connected to 4. 3 connected to 1, 3 connected to 2, 3 connected to 4. 4 connected to 1, 4 connected to 2, 4 connected to 3. So now, if I want a data to be transmitted from 1 to 3, if there is a data transfer from 1 to 3, what are the different paths? First is I can send from 1 to 2 to 3. Second path is from 1 to 4 to 3. And the third path is directly from 1 to 3. Out of this all three, which path will I select? The one which takes a less amount of time. So which will take a less amount of time? The path 1 to 3. Why path 1 to 3? Because I have a dedicated connection from computer number 1 to computer number 3. So if I have a data which is large, what I can do is I can divide that data on path 1, 2 and 3 and I can make that data reach faster to the destination. So if suppose I have 6 packets of a data, A, B, C, D, E and F. If I have 6 packets of data, I have 3 dedicated lines. What will I do? I will transfer 2 packets with 1, 2 and 3. I will transfer other 2 packets from 1, 4 and 3 and the remaining 2 packets with a line 1, 2, 3. So what is happening? The data is reaching to the destination by dividing it but in a faster format. So when the data reaches at the destination, what work the destination has to do is it has to assemble all the data. That means it has to collect A, B, C, D, E and F all together at a same time. That is what is done in the mesh network. I repeat again, in the mesh network, every computer is connected to every other computer with a direct line as well as with a multiple lines. Whenever the data has to be transmitted, number of paths are supposed to be identified. If the data is small, I can directly transmit it with the direct connection. But if the data is large, I can divide those data into multiple packets and then transfer it through all these lines. So how do you calculate these lines? By using a formula n into n minus 1 divided by 2. Now what is this n? It is number of computers connected. So if I want to identify कि कितने number of lines है, if I do not know how to count or if my network is large and if the counting is not possible, how do I do it? I can do it with the help of this formula. So what is my n over here? 1, 2, 3 and 4. So 4 into 4 minus 1 divided by 2. So what is 4 into 3 divided by 2? 12 divided by 2, which comes out to be 6. So line 1, line 2, line 3, line 4, line 5 and line 6. Understood? This is how you calculate the total number of lines inside your mesh network by using a formula n is n into n minus 1 divided by 2, where your n is number of nodes connected inside your computer system. So this is what is mesh network. Now next, is this understood?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Now next we have is ring network. Now what do you mean by ring? What is the shape of a ring? It is circular. This is how your ring looks like. Therefore the name is given as a ring network. Now what do we have in this ring? We have multiple computers connected on this ring. Okay. Now how will be the data transmitted from 1, 2, 3 and so on till n? in the form of a manner called as token. Now what is this token? It is nothing but a data. So if I want to transmit a data from computer 1 to computer 6, okay, how it will get transmitted? First the data will get converted in the form of a token. What will I write in that token? It will have data and a 6. This is what is called as token. Who will create this token? It will be created by the source machine. Who is my source? Machine 1. What it will add in that token? The data to be sent and the receiver. Who is the receiver? It is 6. Now how will the data get transmitted? It will simply throw this data on the network. Now who has to accept this token? Only the number which is written over here. So 2 will come and check, is it my packet? No. So if it is not his packet, it will not accept. 3 will check, 4 will check, 5 will check, and then 6 will check. When 6 checks, what is it understood? That the data has to be taken or it has to be received by the machine number 6. So what is happening? When the token is being sent on the network, it is not checked one by one. It will be checked by all those nodes at the same time. So when a packet or a token is being sent from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 up till n, all the computers will check at the same time. And the one which has a number written will accept the data, rest all will reject that particular data. So what is happening? This token is moving in circular manner. That means first 2 will check, 3 will check, 4 will check, and so on. So since it is moving in a circular manner in a form of a ring, therefore the name is given as a ring network. Is this clear? What is ring network?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Then next we have is star topology or a star network. Next type is star. Now what do you mean by star network? You will have a scenario like this where I have computer 1, computer 2, computer 3 and computer 4. You have one central unit which is called as hub. Now what is this hub? It is nothing but a network device. You might be knowing a network device called as router, which you might have installed at your home. Now similar to a router, we have a network device called as hub. You might have seen switches. Everyone has visited lab number 1 and lab number 2 of our college. In lab number 1, as soon as you open a door, you get to see one big switch where multiple green wires are connected. What is that device called? That device is called as switch. So like router and switch, you have one more device called as hub. What are all these devices? They are nothing but called as networking device. Networking device means what? They allow to provide a network to the computers. So since they provide a network in a different form and in a different manner, therefore they are called as a networking devices. Now what is the function of a hub? Whenever I make use of a star network, I have to compulsorily make use of a hub. I cannot make use of router, neither I can make use of a switch. When is this star network used? When you are supposed to connect very limited amount of computers. So if you can see in the diagram, I have used only 4 computers. So since my network is small, I will make use of a star network. But if I have more than 6 to 7 computers, like in our labs, we have 20 to 21 computers. So I cannot connect those computers with a hub. To connect more than 7 to 8 computers in a network, I have to make use of a switches. So a star network is used when there are limited computers to be connected. How are these computers connected? They are connected with a central unit called as hub. Now what will happen if my computer 1 is a source and if my computer 3 is a destination? That means I want to transfer a data from 1 to 3. How will I do this? Do I have a line from 1 to 4 to 3? No. I do not have line from 1 to 2 to a 3. So I have only one line which is going from 1 to hub to 3. So what will happen? One, that which is a source machine, will transmit the data to the hub first. Then it is a duty of hub to transmit the data to the destination. Again, if 2 wants to transmit the data to 4, what will happen? 2 will first transmit the data to hub. Hub will transmit the data to 4. Now, if 4 wants to transmit the data to 3, 4 will transmit the data to hub. hub will transfer the data to 3. Again, if 2 wants to transmit the data to 1, 2 will first send to hub and then hub will send to 1. Which means what? Every communication or every data which is transferred from these two devices or any of the devices has to go via hub. Now, if my hub fails, what will happen? None of the computer will be able to communicate with any other computer. So this is the disadvantage of your star network. If my main system hub fails, I cannot enable the communication between any of the devices that are connected. But we cannot make use of this star topology without hub also. Okay, so this is what is star network. Is this clear?
Ma'am, can you explain the star one again? I didn't get it clearly.
Okay. What is star topology or what is a star network? I can have this star network inside my system when I want to communicate or I want to connect very few numbers of computers together. So what are those number limit? It is 7 to 8. So if I want to connect these 4 computers and since the network is small, so I will make use of this star network. If I want, I can use linear also, I can use mesh also, but it is recommended to use star. Now what is happening? Every computer which wants to communicate with each other has to first connect to the hub. They cannot be directly connected to each other. They have to compulsorily be connected to the hub. If they are not connected to a hub, they cannot communicate between themselves. So therefore, it is a compulsion that you have to connect to the hub. So if 1 wants to communicate, connect to hub, 2 wants to communicate, connect to hub, 3 wants to communicate, connect to hub, and if 4 wants to communicate, connect to the hub. Now how will the data transfer be done? If 1 wants to transmit the data to 2, do I have a dedicated line? No, I do not have this line. So how will the transfer be done? It will be done from 1 to hub and hub to 2. Which means what? In a star network, everything that is communicating goes via the hub. Anything which is communicating will always go via the hub. So if due to any problem, if my hub fails, if this UDIT hub does not work, what will happen? Neither of these 4 computers will be able to communicate among each other. Which means what? If the hub fails, my entire star network also fails. Is this now understood, Aksh?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what is the disadvantage of this network is, since everybody is connected to a hub, which is a central node, so if that central node fails, everything will get failed, which means there will be no communication between any of the computer systems. Then next we have is a complete network. What do you mean by complete network? Your complete network and your mesh network are same. In the complete network also, we make use of a formula n is equal to n minus 1 divided by 2, which means every computer is connected to every other computer either directly or via some another computer. Therefore, it is called as complete. Why? Because everybody is connected to everybody else in the system. Therefore, it is called as complete network. If you see the diagrams, we have seen linear, we have seen ring, then we have seen what is mesh, we have seen star, and we have seen complete also. Now you have something called as hybrid also. What do you mean by hybrid network? When I am using more than 2 connections. More than 2 network connection means what we have learned so far. We learned linear, we have learned mesh or complete, we have learned star, and we have seen ring. So when I use combination of either or, it forms a hybrid network. So if I use ring plus star together, I can call it as hybrid. If I use ring plus mesh, I call it as hybrid. If I use ring plus linear, I call it as hybrid. If I use star plus mesh, I call it as hybrid. So any communication, any use of this multiple network is called as a hybrid network. Clear? So these are the different types of networks which can be used inside your computer system. Is this clear? All the different types of networks?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we do next now standard buses. Now what do you mean by this? all the devices can communicate among themselves with the help of a bus. So we know the definition of a bus, that if we want anything to communicate in the system, we can do that communication with the help of a bus. So now bus consists of physical links. What is a physical link? The line that connects the two components is the physical link. Okay, that means nothing but the wires. Control and exchange of information. How is this controlling and exchange of information done? It is done with the help of that wire. So if we do not have that wire, which means what? We do not have a bus. And since we do not have a bus, therefore we cannot have any communication. Okay, so let us look at the diagram of the single shared bus. Just a minute. We have already seen the diagram, which is same as this. We have a CPU, we have a main memory, we have IO devices, and we have input device and the output device. So this is what is the standard diagram of your bus in the computer system. It will have a control, it will have an address, and it will have a data bus. But if I am using my multiple bus structure, everything will get separated. So your single bus structure is also called as the standard bus structure. Okay, so if it is asked in the diagram that, asked in the exam that draw the diagram of a standard bus or a single bus, for both of them you have to write same. Okay. Now what are the transactions that your system bus do? Now what is system bus? You have control bus, address bus, and data bus into it, right? Now what are the functions that these three bus will do? They will perform memory read, they will perform IO read, they will perform memory write, and they will perform IO write. Now what do you mean by memory read? Memory read means if I want to read a data which is stored in the memory. Which memory? Either hard disk or cache memory or RAM. If I want to read anything from this memory, which signal is used? Memory read signal is used. If I want to write something in the memory, that means if I want to store something in the memory, which signal is used? Memory write signal is used. When I give an input to the device or to a computer system, what is computer doing with that input? It is reading. So how it is reading that input? With the help of a signal called as IO read. Whenever the output is written on the screen, how is that output displayed on the screen? With the help of a signal called as IO write. So whenever I use a system bus, along with the system bus, I always make use of these four signals. To write the data in the computer, I make use of memory write. To read the data from the system, I make use of memory read. To write the output, I make use of IO write. And to give the input, I make use of IO read. Okay. Then we have two types of buses. That means जो भी bus अपन ने अभी तक पढ़े हैं, address, control, data, local bus, all these bus belongs to two categories. Which are those two categories? Synchronous and asynchronous. Now what do you mean by synchronous and asynchronous? Synchronous means what? It will work based on the clock. That means whenever a system generates that clock or ticks that clock, then only that bus will get activated. But what is asynchronous? It does not wait for any clock. As soon as the data comes, it will directly start executing or operating or giving the data to the units. So what is synchronous? Occurrence of event is determined by the clock. Single high-low transmission is called as a clock cycle. Again, if you can see the board, what is a clock? In the computer system, we do not have a clock like we have at our homes. In our computer system, a clock is like this, which is low and high. Okay, this is what is low, this is what is high. Again, this is low, this is high. Again, this is low, the next one will be high. So this keeps on continuing. This is what is called as clock cycle. Why it is called as cycle? Because from low to high, it keeps on moving. Many a times it will be low, low and then high, or it may be again low, low and then high, then again low and then high. So this cycle of high and low keeps on repeating, Therefore, it is called as a cycle. But the cycle moves only in two different modes. Which are those two different modes? Either low or either high. Okay. So what is happening? If it is a synchronous bus, I have to wait for this low and high. Whenever this low and high occurs, at that time only the data will be transmitted. That is what is called as synchronous. That means if this high and low is generated by your system, then only your CPU or your memory or your IO device will start working. But if it is asynchronous, which means what? Your system will never generate this high and low. As soon as the data is received by CPU or memory or IO device, it will immediately start working. But in case of synchronous, even if the data is received, it cannot operate on that data unless and until this high and low is signaled from the system. So it will wait for this signal. Once if this signal is received, then it will start the operation. Therefore, we say that synchronous buses are slow as compared to asynchronous buses. Why? Because in synchronous, we are waiting for this high and low, whereas in asynchronous, we are not waiting for any high and low. As soon as the data is received, we start sending the data to wherever it has to go. That is what is, we have two different types of buses in our computer system, synchronous and asynchronous. Again, this is asked in your exam for 3 marks. That define buses, write the two different types of buses, that is synchronous and asynchronous. So you have to explain that synchronous waits for the clock signal either high or low, whereas asynchronous, it does not wait for any of the clock signal. It will immediately start working as soon as the data is received. Is this clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so now we are left with two topics, that is PCI bus and SCSI bus. We'll be doing these two topics in the next lecture. Followed by that, we will have an assignment on the Google Classroom. So you have to be prepared for all the topics completed up till today. Again, apart from PCI and SCSI bus, जो भी topics first lecture से complete हुआ है, everything will be asked in that assignment. It will be a 15 marks assignment. So first I will complete this two topic and after that I will take a assignment. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Any doubts in today's lecture? Anybody, any doubts?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So what we have seen today is what are the different types of networks. We have linear network, we have mesh network, we have star network, and we have ring network. We also seen what is hybrid. Whenever I use more than this type of network in combination with another, I call it as hybrid. Then we have seen what are the different types of bus structure, single bus structure and multiple bus structure. And then we end with the two different types of buses, synchronous and asynchronous. So if it is synchronous, we have to wait for such kind of high-low signals. But if it is asynchronous, we do not wait for any signal. We immediately start operating as soon as the data is received. Clear? Let me take the attendance because I have not started the attendance today. Just stay online.